Welcome to the Business Grind, where we give you an inside perspective on what it takes to start, build, and run a successful business. Here are your hosts, Danny Shaw and Sean Michael Wellington.
All right. Hello to everyone in podcast land today. Thanks for joining us. Sean, how you feeling?
Feeling good and ready to do another movie review.
All right. Yes, indeed. I'm looking forward to discussing this. All right. So in today's episode, we're going to discuss the movie Lionheart, share our thoughts, some key takeaways, and discuss, what parts resonated with us as usual and all that good stuff for today's episode, right?
Yeah, so this Lionheart's a business movie about a family company in Nigeria, right?
Yeah. So I'm it's a lot. Well, let's step back a bit and give a synopsis, a proper synopsis, right? He said, yo, it's a business movie in Nigeria. It is a Nigerian film produced by, and oh God, I'm about to butcher some names. Hold on a minute. Produced by Chinny Onwugbenu and directed by Genevieve Naji, right? So that's the producer and that is the director. And the director is also the star of the movie as well.
Oh, okay, so that's Shanae is how it's pronounced then, if that's the same star.
Oh, okay.
Because I saw it too. I was like, oh, it's spelled Chinny, but it's pronounced Shanae.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. No, but okay, yeah.
Don't look at me for any.
Oh, here we go. No. But no, Shanae is the producer. Genevieve is the director and the star, and she also was one of the writers on the movie as well. So yes, it is a Nigerian drama. I kind of feel like it's a dramedy because I found a lot of parts of the movie humorous and funny to me. But yes, so it was released in 2018. It was acquired by Netflix. It won a few awards and film festivals, and it's available on Netflix for everybody to watch if you care to after we give our review, right? So, well, as you were saying, Sean, how did you describe the plot?
I was saying it was basically a family company, and good word you use, drama. Yeah, it was a family company drama. It's basically, kind of the we'll get into the specifics, but basically the drama of like Succession when the main figurehead moves on or retires or whatever.
Right. All right. So that's your take, and it's funny because I didn't necessarily take it as that, and we'll get into that in a second. So, as a general starting point, just for the audience, right? I guess we can say it's the story of Adaeze, right? And that's the main character, the daughter, who wants to take over the we call it a trucking company or the bus company for her
transportation company, a busing company
for her father, who's the chief. He's not able to run the company anymore due to health issues. All right, and then what happens is her father, however, asks his brother, who is her uncle, to take his place, and then Adaeze and her uncle named Godswill, which I love that name. Oh my God. I love that name in the movie. They work together to save the company from debt as well as corporate takeovers from another businessman, Igwe Pascal, who also was quite entertaining as well, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right, so let's just get into it, right? So first out the gate, what did you think before we get into the business details and lessons from the movie? What did you think of the movie overall?
I thought the movie started off a little funny. I was like, wait, where are we going with this film? With the opening, I wasn't sure where we were going, but it actually, once they started getting into the main problem for the business, that's when I started getting interested. I was invested in how they would solve it. So I like the movie.
All right, so just so the audience is aware, what was the opening scene that had you hold on there now?
I don't know. It was just very Captain Phillips-esque, where you had a bunch of angry men banging on the bus, you know what I mean? And they had weapons. I don't know. I didn't know what was going on. It was, but I think as you realize what it's about, it was labor dispute.
Right. It was a labor dispute, but it was a very violent labor dispute.
Yeah, and it wasn't graphic. There was no blood or anything, but it was just a chaotic, violent scene. Yeah, you're just wait, what?
People. Yeah. So that definitely did set it off kind of crazy, But But this is how labor disputes happen. I think
Right.
sometimes we like to think, we're so far removed from labor strikes or violent labor strikes, but these things still happen, and not just in other countries, here in the United States as well. So,
Yeah, and I don't want to get ahead, but one thing I do want to mention, I think that's like a key thing to the plot, maybe, is that this transportation company is one of two companies bidding for like this big. I don't know if it was necessarily a government contract, but it's a contract. It's a big contract coming up.
It was a state contract. So I did a little digging the Lagos bus rapid transit system. So they were trying to get a contract with them.
Okay.
Yeah, so the movie. So you said you enjoyed the movie, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now, this was a guilty pleasure for me. I was entertained watching this movie. I was cracking up. It was a good movie, and it was a business movie, but I think the added flavor of the Nigerian culture and the seasoning of it, you know what I mean? It kind of had little elements of what's those Nigerian movies? Those like the dramedy, like what do they call those series? Like the Beyonce and
I don't know there was a name for them.
Yeah,
but
no, they have certain movies that's like the Beyonce series and the Rihanna series. These are the actual names of some of those movies, not like Beyonce and the Rihanna we know. Yeah, you know what I mean. So I was entertained. Like I'm just watching it, cracking up at some of the scenes. I even had it. I had the dubs. I had the subtitles on it to make sure I wasn't missing no jokes or anything like that. So I enjoyed it just as a general movie. That was one. But then, as you said, the story, it was a good movie overall, like regardless of if you went to business or not, right?
And I agree with you in terms of like the culture. That's what kind of locked me in is the Nigerian culture and the inside jokes and sayings, because I also watched it with the captions too. Right. I would have missed a lot of stuff. But yeah, I agree.
Right. And I'm not even gonna sit here and try to front like I'm some expert on Nigerian culture, because I am not. I mean, it would be very short sighted to be like I got a lot of Nigerian friends and stuff like that, but that still don't mean, you know what I'm saying, like.
But by context, like there was this one, and I'm not gonna remember the exact phrase, but there was this one instance where it was like, if the soup is warm and the bread is good, then eat the meal or whatever you say. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Oh, see, now we already jumping it, because there was a few lines in that movie that I was feeling, especially by the father in the end of the movie. So we'll get to that as well. I will say I have been to Nigeria before. So it's been a while ago since I've been there, but it was just kind of from the scenery and some of the shots and things like that. It was good to kind of see some of the familiar shots that I recognized when I was over there as well. So overall, I just enjoyed the movie. But now let's get into the details, the business and the plot of the movie, right?
Okay. So there's two rival companies. There's
two rival companies. It's the company that's run by Adaeze and the chief, right?
Lionheart. Yep.
Yes, that's Lionheart, and I just want to make sure I'm not it's Adaeze, right?
I don't. You can't ask me now. I'm not the expert anymore. I just know Shanae. That's it.
All right, I'm gonna say Adaeze, and that's Lionheart, and that's the company with her and her father, right? And then you have the rival company that is run by Pascal. Now, I don't recall the name of Pascal's bus company at the moment.
They mentioned it really early in the movie. Yeah, I don't recall either.
All right. So how the movie start us off is that, like we said, Lionheart Bus Company, there were some labor issues, and we didn't really know what was going on. It was, a dispute about money. Then we come to realize that both companies are bidding for a contract with Lagos for a transportation type of contract and so forth. Now, early on in the movie, I think we've all seen these type of movies. It was very clear to see who was going to be the bad guy within the Lionheart company, who was jockeying for position and stuff like that, right? So it wasn't like it came as a big surprise or revelation. So early on, we see that there's a meeting with the father, the chief of Lionheart, father the daughter, his board of directors, and then there is one gentleman, and his name really escapes me right now.
He was like the head of engineering, though,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to see if I can. Kalu. His name was Kalu. Okay, so yeah, he was like the villain inside the Lionheart company, and you can tell he was jogging for position. He didn't really want the daughter to be in charge or any of that type of stuff out the gate. So there was a meeting where they was looking at the presentation that they were going to present to make their bid, and that was happening. And you could just see, even he was sitting in the daughter's seat. You know, he was trying to start the meeting without her. You know what I mean? Like, it was early on. You could tell he didn't really think highly of the daughter. And so that was that. And then we see Pascal, the rival. He's out, trying to do his thing as well, competing for the contract and the bid as well. Well, then what happens, and keep me honest here, Sean, the chief, the father, and the chief, the head of Lionheart, he had a heart attack or something like that, right?
Yeah, they weren't specific about whatever ailment he had, but it was something that took him out. He had to, take a break from the company because it was putting too much stress on his body.
Mm-hmm. And so then when that happened, and he wasn't able to run the company, there was, he had to name who was going to be head of the company moving forward. Now, I believe Kalu, who was the head of engineering, he had thought he was going to be the one, and his daughter, Adaeze, that, she would be named the head of the company. The father pulled the switcheroo and named his brother as the head of the company, right? Now, I don't know, Sean, that surprised me. The brother was not at least from what I'm gathering from the movie, he wasn't like on the board of directors. He just kind of came out of nowhere, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. He was not like established as a part of. They really did a good job of establishing. All right, there's clearly some sort of tension or rivalry between the head of engineering and daughter. They're both fighting for that spot.
Right.
And yeah, he kind of was just an X factor.
He just rolled through. Right. Mm-hmm. So I was amused by that. So he comes through, and he's running the company now. Now I will say, to the credit of the flow of the movie, it's not like he didn't come in with, at least the way I took it, it's not like he came in with his own agenda and he was trying to take over, and like he seemed like he was trying to keep things moving, even if his way of managing a company is not manners that I would agree with, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he kind of came in and didn't have an agenda, like you said. Yeah, he just was like, okay, I'll sit wherever. I'll sit in the middle so I can observe everything, and
there was some things he was trying to, like, what did he institute, like morning prayers and spiritual
morning devotion,
devotions and spiritual singings. So he was trying to invoke those things, but in regards to the actual business itself, he ain't really have a plan. He was just like, I'm here, I'm here, but I don't know where we're going with the direction of the company, right? So that was going on, and then while the father is sick, and the news of him being sick spreads, and it's all on the news and so forth, you have the rival Pascal. Pascal was saying a lot of nasty work at the news conference and stuff, just saying things like at the slip of the tongue, my condolences, even though the chief was not dead, just real corny stuff, to the news.
Yeah, I mean, Chief even suspected that he paid those reporters to tee him up for some of these questions, so that
Right. So that was very whack. So right now, what you have happening is, obviously you still have the issue of who's gonna get this contract, but you also got the issue of who's running, how the direction of the Lionheart company is going, and if they can even survive and be competitive against Pascal's company, right? And then there's another wrench that's thrown into the situation, is that we find out that Lionheart is essentially bankrupt or going bankrupt. Yeah,
they're in massive debt, really. They're about to default. So they're in trouble because the dad, the chief, he massively over leveraged them because of this potential contract. He purchased a bunch of buses that, if that contract comes through, they'll have the capacity to, handle that new contract. But he kind of bet on that happening using these loans beforehand.
Exactly. And then he didn't tell anybody. I think so. That was the thing. He puts his brother in charge. He has his daughter as second in command, and X, Y, and Z. But he didn't really disclose all the finances. So then the bank starts knocking on the doors and like, hold on, we got these, loans that got to be paid and X, Y, and Z, and we don't know what's going on, right? So that adds, obviously more conflict to the scenario. So not just trying to compete for this contract. Now they're going to other banks and trying to figure out what options and what solutions they may have in order to either get an extension on a loan or get another loan to pay off this loan, right?
Right. And there was one thing I wanted to ask you about, because I don't know if you had any insight, because I'm unfamiliar with it. So how they discovered that they were in so much debt, right? Because like you said, he didn't tell the board or his daughter, right, or the uncle coming in. How they found out was there was an external auditor coming that they met with who basically broke that news to them. So like, that's like kind of a new concept for me. I'm not familiar with an external auditor or the purpose or rationale behind getting one. If you're not, I guess maybe if you're selling your company, but it didn't seem like they were in that position. So I'm curious if you have any insight on that, like why they would have one and what they do.
Well, I think I will say this, for the sake of the movie and the sake of cultural competency, I just chalked it up to me not knowing everything about the Nigerian banking system and the financial system, right? Like we could say over here, why would that happen? The stuff that I do know about, business and doing business in Nigeria, I know enough to know that I don't know. So either it's Nigerian Hollywood and they just added that element to it, right? Or there may be some regulations going on over there that causes for these type of scenarios to happen.
Okay,
that's what I chalked it up to be quite honest. That was it.
Okay, yeah, because that part was like, yeah, but like it probably is something that I wouldn't be privy to. That's what it felt like.
Right. So I just left it at that. Or as I like to say, sometimes things is just thrown into the movie to move the plot line along.
Right. Like, we just needed that. We just needed to know that they weren't dead. So
right. We just had to. We had to know that they weren't dead. How do we find out? External auditor. So take your pick. Whatever gets your brain to accept it to move forward with the storyline. Right. So where were we? Trying to
we were just kind of talking about you had mentioned that they were close to bankruptcy, so that's the uncle's walking into that situation.
Right. So now they are like under pressure to get this debt cleared or a new loan or something. So then the movie direction takes us down their path to try to get this figured out. The uncle and Adaeze, I'm sorry, the trials and tribulations that they go through to try to get this loan. They start meeting with other people, which to me, I mean, it's not a funny situation, but the circumstances that they were in trying to get these loans, I was amused by it. It was one scenario where they went to a bank to try to get a loan, and apparently all the banks know that Lionheart is about to go bankrupt in X amount of days, so nobody wants to give them any money. And then they go to one bank, the uncle and his niece, and I guess the bank teller, he's propositioning for a bribe of some sort in order to approve the loan. And his proposition was basically to sleep with the niece. The uncle punches him and they go to jail, right? And they're in jail. And while they're in jail, if I'm not mistaken, they had another meeting to be at while they were in jail, right, Sean?
Yeah, so this is all kind of the plot of that evil company. Who wants to take over. And so essentially they got arrested because that one of those bankers who was in cahoots with them, like he called right before they came to the office. Right. He propositioned her. And and then just backing up 1 second to like So it seems like they both went into the debt situation with a plan, right? So the uncle, he was like, "Oh, there's this company in the South that wants to expand, and they look like they would be a good merger option." Whereas I thought it was funny. I don't know if you caught this, but the daughter was like, "Yeah, I got this 3-point plan that's going to get us out perfectly." And it was like, "All right, step one, you try to get extension on the loans," and then I never heard the rest of the steps. So I don't know if you caught what the rest were, but yeah,
I don't think I caught
that was
that
all
part.
the meetings they went to try to get the extension on the loan, and they got declined. So.
Got it. I might have missed that. I know they went to jail for the uncle punching the banker. Which also, if we really want to talk about it, I don't know why the niece went to jail. Because she didn't hit anybody. It was the uncle that punched the banker. He should have only been the one.
Didn't do anything.
So they both went to jail, and then they're stuck in the jail while there's a meeting for a potential partner taking place, and they had to get out to go to the jail. I was amused. Then it got real comedic. They had to swap out who was in the jail cell so that when the chief of the police came back to the cell, he saw a man and a woman, but he didn't check to see if it was the same people who got arrested. That was a bit ridiculous. Then there was another meeting, correct, Sean? With
Yeah, I think there was 2 bankers, and then or 3 actually. One, and they got 2 that they declined extensions, and then one they were trying to get a new loan. And that was the one where he punched him in the face.
Right, and then there was another meeting with like a music artist, I believe. He was.
Oh yes, so then she came up with another. Yeah, that was one of her contacts. So they exhausted the banking options and the loan options. So they went to something inspired her and remembered that she knew somebody who maybe would have, I guess, loaned them a portion of the money or invest in the portion of the money. Right. I think was her plan.
Right. So he's a musician of some sort, and he was also trying to woo her at the same time, and she was just like, "Bro, I'm here for business." Now, this is where I also got, I think, another one of those scenarios where I kind of got a little lost in the plot. The uncle started wandering on the land on the premise of the property.
Yeah, he got distracted by a bathing suit, and he just kind of followed her. And the shady business deal going down. He happened upon that.
Yeah. So while on the premises of this music artist, and he had all these models and so forth, he stumbles upon another business deal that's going down, and it's a transportation deal of some sort as well. And what happened was, they were running a scam on one gentleman, and he didn't know because he didn't speak Igbo. Which is one Nigerian language, one of many Nigerian languages. So he didn't speak that language, and they were talking in a language, basically talking about how they were going to scam that man. And the uncle stumbled in on the deal and told the man, "Hey, they're trying to scam you," because this other man was from Nigeria, but from a different part of Nigeria and spoke a different native language. So once he messed up that whole deal, they was about to beat up the uncle, but then the niece saved the uncle. And then that was that, right? And then you kind of never hear about it again until like a little bit later on in the movie, right? So, all right. So 3 meetings, one with a musician. Those 3 meetings don't really go anywhere. And then it kind of just feels like all options is kind of spent at this point. And then we see that Pascal makes an offer for the company, and here we go. Who's the gentleman again? Kalu from early in the movie. Obviously, he's, partnering with Pascal for a takeover of some sort, right? And he got the board members on board to go through with the meeting and the deal. Of course, they still got X amount of days left before this happens, but now it just feels like everything is crushing and closing in on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, as with all these type of movies, they get a Hail Mary, right?
Always, yep.
Always a Hail Mary in these type of movies. So what was the Hail Mary, Sean?
This was it was her kind of walking through the streets and observing this bus route that wasn't being serviced, correct?
That was one part of it, but that was.
Oh, well, my bad. What were you thinking about then?
I was talking about when the uncle, the uncle randomly sees a gentleman.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. He saves this gentleman, this young man who's about to be swindled when he wandered. You're right. You're right. Sorry.
Right.
Yep.
Right. All good. All good. It was a
Because
lot.
that was kind of like the setup for yeah. You're right.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right.
It's a lot. It was a lot going on in that movie. It's all good.
I see what you mean by getting lost in the plot. I see what you mean now.
It was a lot going on, but like I said, I was thoroughly entertained. So the uncle who has saved the gentleman from being swindled earlier in the movie, you know, he randomly runs into this young gentleman again, the one he actually saved, and the guy was like, "Hey, do you remember me? You helped save me from that deal, X, Y, and Z." And he's like, "Oh, okay." So they're talking, and then the uncle tells him what his plans is. Like, I'm going to this city to meet this gentleman, so maybe, you know, we can merge and save the company. And comes to find out that the man he's going to see is that man's father. And he's like, "Well, my name is so and so, and my father and I will introduce you, and we can, you know, we can all make nice." And so it's like, "Oh, are you serious?" You know, all of these other elements. So they all travel to meet the father of the gentleman who was swindled, and you know, kind of a serendipitous scenario that kind of worked out. Still didn't mean out the gate that the deal was going to go through, but now they had some sort of a lifeline to meet the father and talk about what the options are to possibly merge and X, Y, and Z. All right?
Yeah.
So that happens. During this time, the father is, you know, he's getting better. You know what I'm saying? He's getting better, which allowed him to have a meeting. The father of and the chief of Lionheart, excuse me, he's getting better, which allows him to have a meeting with the father who owns the other company that they were propositioning, and it kind of looks like, all right, all is going to be saved, all is going to go well, and then of course, you know, we can kind of fast forward, things do work out eventually, and Pascal and the other guy who was scheming from the very beginning, Kalu, the father comes in right at the right moment, you know, to kick everybody out the meeting and be like, "This is my company and we got new shareholders," and all of that good stuff, right? And then that's kind of it. Then the movie kind of ends on that note, and you know, the business is saved and everything is pretty much, you know, back to normal and with a bright future ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they were able to pivot. So, well, I guess that's where I wanted to ask you is, what do you think about their strategy? If you were in the movie world and this was your company and you were $5 billion in debt or whatever it was in their money, what would your strategy be? Would it be a merger? Would it be some sort of debt option like she was trying to do? Yeah, what would you do?
Listen, there's a few things before we get to that. I know it probably sounds like we gave the whole movie away, but I'm telling y'all, there was so much going on in this movie. Even though we basically talked through the whole movie, there's still so many layers to this movie, right? Like, as far as what was going on. Now, in regards to what I would have done, I don't want to be super critical of, like, from a business perspective, right? Because I'm like, it's not, you know, there's a lot of things they took a lot of liberties with, right? I will say this, for me, you already know how I feel about debt in general. And then,
yep, that's kind of why I asked you. Yep.
I'm like, I'm really averse to debt, but I do understand why you need to take on debt in certain instances to grow your business, operating costs, you know, all of that good stuff. Sometimes you got to take on that loan to just get your operating costs to your vendors, your partners pay you back and to keep payroll going. Obviously, we saw in the beginning of the movie, the laborers, they wasn't getting paid. You know, a loan could have helped facilitate that out the gate. Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard one. I think if I would have had to take that loan out for the sake of the business, so be it. What I would not have done is I wouldn't have kept it a secret from the family and from the other officers of the company. And I don't even know if this is why I say I don't want to come at it from a business 101 perspective. I don't think you can. I know in the U.S. you might not be able to, like, that would fall under some ethical violations, right? To like taking
that big of a loan without advising your board and all that, probably.
Yeah, that sounds like that, you know. But again, I don't know what the customs and the regulations is in Nigeria, so that's one thing. So yeah, definitely would have been a bit more transparent on the financial state of the business. I looked at the board; it was at least looked like they had 12 members of the board. I feel like I would have somebody on that board should have been able to help out. Like I didn't have a board for nothing. Like nobody can help me out or help us figure out how to get out this financial mess. I feel like that was kind of a misstep there, you know.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
Like yeah. What about you? What you have done?
Oh, well, what I have done? I don't know. I had no thoughts or plot. That's why I was like, how they gonna get out of this? Like.
Nah, I was doing the conversions while I was watching the movie. Like, how much naira to US?
Okay, so how much was it in American dollars? Yeah,
it was I looked up the number that the musician said he was going to offer, and he has,
which was 500 million.
No,
right?
billion. So that translates to have about 600,000 US dollars. I thought it was million, but it wasn't, because at first when I put a million, it only equated to like 6,000 and change over here. So I was like, I rewind it. He said billion, so that was like a little over 500,000, 600,000.
Okay, so how much were they in debt for? 900 billion?
I think 900 billion. So that might have put them at like.
I thought it was 950. I remember it being like 950 million. I thought, but I must have misheard.
I definitely heard. I heard billion from the artist when the musician when he was offering it. So yeah, that was my proxy, because, So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, getting in debt of that nature, and I also think the reasoning that's also a thing, right? It seems like the loan and the debt was taken out in the anticipation of getting the business, right? And I know
it was that, and he mentioned how he had this standard of comfort and luxury he wanted to maintain with his customers also.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there. That's a tough one right there, because as a consumer, I know people expect things from the business. As a customer, this is what I expect. But at the same time, on the other side of the equation, like when you're crunching those numbers, it is a point of like, can we afford to keep this up at this quality, at this long, for this standard, and at what cost? Like, what are the margins? What is the profit? Are we even making a profit? We're operating at a loss, and for how long, right? So it seemed like the father, the chief, was really leveraging the future of the company based on, to sustain for today, right?
Yeah, I mean, without being too messed up towards him, I feel like he wasn't the best businessman. He was a great leader, and you could tell everyone really believed in his vision. But in terms of the actual, numbers and shit like that,
I agree. I agree with you. We could keep it honest. It ain't even throw him under the bus. I was like,
yeah, okay.
I was like, this is not the man I would want to go into business with. Seriously. And then, since you got me started, you want to talk about going to business, this definitely isn't a man that I would want to go into business with, considering who he selected to take his place.
Really? So you don't think the uncle was a good balance to his daughter? I thought that was a good. I thought he had good foresight in terms of they would help each other. He said something like 2 heads are better than one, or whatever.
He did. Wow, that's interesting. You know what? Let me think. I will say this. What was good about the uncle is that he was willing to listen, and he knew what he didn't know. He didn't know he knew enough to know that, hey, this isn't really my lane. I'm gonna try to do this over here. He didn't try to stifle his niece from her ambitions and what she was trying to do. So they did work well together. I will say that. So maybe the father got something there. But I do think, even if you was going to introduce your brother to run it, just the way and the manner it was done, I just think that was bad communication.
How they had no idea who was coming.
They had no idea who's coming. I'm on the speakerphone. I'm not even in the meeting. I'm on the speakerphone telling my team who's about to take over. And my brother rolls through with his shades and his little fedora hat. I don't know. It just is not good good leadership things. You may have picked a nice balance, but I think you could have got ahead of that a bit sooner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'll give you that. I will give it to the uncle that he didn't come in and be like, no, you can't do anything, niece. So I will give it that. Okay, you got it. All right. Outside of that, now, I thought it was interesting just in the overall, how you say, the way the niece was working with like the drivers and listening to them in order to find like solutions for the business. Did you recall those scenes?
Yeah, he was kind of like writing it on the whiteboard, just
Yeah.
taking it, like she called a meeting of all the drivers, and yeah, it was kind of listening to all their perspectives.
Right. And I thought that was very key. And I thought that was insightful. Like, just from a business point of view, you definitely don't want to be in a bubble when you're running your business. Obviously, you don't want a whole bunch of yes men. And at a certain point, you do have to filter out all the noise, because if you don't, everybody will start complaining to you about everything, every issue and grievance. But in this scenario, when trying to figure out, what's the best way to optimize the company, optimize the bus route to make it more profitable and stuff like that. I thought that was a good, perspective to show, and one that I actually agree with. You got to kind of listen to your people on the ground to help with the solutions and to understand the problem at times,
Yeah, I think the movie, if it had any sort of message, that was it. It was kind of like listen to the market, so to speak, because the two breakthroughs, the two turning points in the movie were, when she walked through and she heard the customers complain about not being able to go to this particular city, and I can't remember which city it was, but this one lady missed the express or missed the local,
right?
And it was only express that couldn't go to the city she wanted to. So that gave her the idea. Okay, we need smaller buses,
right,
so we could do these more local routes, and then what you just described with her talking to the drivers themselves and getting their feedback. So the people on the ground, like you said. So
yeah, definitely. I will say I think this might also be like a cautionary tale of doing business with family.
Honestly, I think they did pretty good for most family. I don't know. Maybe I got maybe I got like Game of Thrones on the mind or something. But I feel like they did pretty good for most family squabbles. Like it didn't get too heated.
It didn't get too heated. But I'm just feeling. Listen, at this point in the game, I think we've done enough case studies and we've seen enough movies and read enough books to know that no matter the scenario, no matter whether it's family or not, the possibility of conflict is going to always be high, right?
Yeah, I would say this was one of the more harmonious family stories I feel like we've discussed in a while.
You're right. Yeah. Oh man, maybe I'm just being too hard on these folks, because I feel like
there's some things to be hard on though. Like you can't take out a loan like that.
You can't take out a loan like that. Papa, what's going on out here? Now you chilling. We saw the scenes. The father was chilling on the bed.
Bro, he never was sweating the whole movie. He did not sweat once the whole movie.
Now you got me. I'm the daughter. I'm trying to figure this out now, and I got this dude trying to undermine me. Yeah, so maybe I'm just like cynical in the whole family dynamic and running a business. But I'll give it to you. This movie definitely showed family business in a more harmonious, like overall than other movies outside of the father doing the crazy loans. It was, I'll give you that. I will say, this movie wasn't like super predictable, but you could kind of tell the direction it was going to go with the plot and the storylines and how.
Well, you knew the company wasn't going to go under. You knew they were going to find a way and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how they were going to find a way at first, but I did think that maybe there's a brother, for the audience. There's a brother in the movie as well. He's not a major character, but he's in the movie. I thought his music endeavors was going to probably get them out the situation.
Oh, they never really went back to that guy, did they?
They did towards the end. They did. There was a few scenes early on when the sister was clowning him for his music career. Then there was something like at the dinner table, they were cracking jokes on him again. Yeah, I remember at the dinner table,
they were asking him what he wants to do with his future. Yeah. And they were talking about marriage. And they took like a little detour into like the politics of marriage and stuff. But,
and then at the end, he performed at like the ceremony or the celebration of the merger of the business. But early on, because he was, a bit more prominent early on, asking for like investments in his music career and his videos and stuff, something, I don't know. I thought like, oh, watch he come back tomorrow. He got a record deal.
Yeah, like they were able to pay it off with his music advance or something. Yeah. I didn't see that coming, but I was like,
I was like,
for like a Tyler Perry movie. That's
I was like, I was like, don't tell me his Afrobeat career is gonna pop off. And now this is why the whole business is
like
safe.
A pilot for Davido's career or something. Yeah.
Exactly, but nah, it didn't. But yeah, I mean, I guess, and considering other family business shows, theme shows that we've seen, especially now, especially with Succession, which not everybody, but a lot of people watch. We've seen all the cutthroat stuff that goes on in that family. So this is definitely way more harmonious and tame compared to that. Right.
Yeah. Yep. There was tension. You could tell she was frustrated when Uncle was named, but they didn't try to sabotage each other.
Right. Yeah. So all right. You know what? You've converted me. You've changed my mind. I will take that type of family dynamics if it is a family business. However,
sometimes a little loyal opposition is good, right? That's what you say.
Yeah, a little loyal opposition good. Still doesn't mean I'm trying to start a business tomorrow with any of my family members, but might be a bit more open now.
Right. Just no loans behind anybody's
back. Loans, please. No loans. No backdoor deals that I don't know about. I will say, speaking of lines, you mentioned that there was a line that you had liked, right?
The one about soup. I'm gonna butcher it, but yeah, the one about soup was interesting. I thought
there was a line. It was kind of like it was an insult, but I had to write it down. I really enjoyed it when the chief came back to the office right at the meeting.
Oh, and he was talking about that the mean mugging engineer guy.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Oh, you know that he said he was like, yo, you need to go. So the chief, the father, he kicked. First of all, Pascal was in the meeting in the chief's chair. The disrespect. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Why are you in my chair in the boardroom? And then we see Kalu, the head of engineer at of Lionheart, who was in cahoots with Pascal, and the chief said to Kalu, he said, "Your continued stay is an extension of your relevance." And I was like, "Ooh, that's an insult." I don't know the way he said it, his dialect, all of that. I had to rewind that. I was like, "Oh wow, what a way to tell somebody to leave, yo!" Like, I hope I'm never in those type of meetings where I have to use that, but I might have to commit that.
Have it ready.
I have to commit that to memory. Like, yo, continue stay as an extension of your relevance, or irrelevance. Oh man, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. But overall, definitely enjoyed the movie. And it was an easy watch for me at least.
Yeah, it was definitely easy watch. It was under, it was like 90 minutes or a little bit under maybe. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So I guess unless you had any other topics like about the movie you want to discuss, where do you give it? Or letter grade is what we've been doing.
Oh yeah, we haven't. I'll give it a B. I mean, for me, I don't know what would have made it an A, but I feel like an A. I would say the reason why I probably wouldn't give it an A is just probably because of there's probably some cultural nuances that I'm not aware of and I can't really speak to be like, this is a Nigerian movie. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I'll say a strong B.
Yeah, I'm in that same family, like B minus. Yeah,
okay.
And all the same reasons.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good, solid story. Like, even if you're not like a business person and like, I don't like business, this didn't come off as purely a business movie. It came off as a movie, a drama and comedy movie that centered around a family business and the challenges that they're having right now with it. So yeah, I'll give it a strong B. Enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, for sure.
It was definitely accessible if you're not, whether you were into business or not.
Exactly. Like, you don't have to be a business focused person to enjoy the movie. So yeah. Any other takeaways you want to speak on before we close it out?
Nah, man, I think we covered it. I'm surprised we actually we had so much to say about the movie because it's like I said, it's not that long.
It's not a long shoot. This episode might be
longer than the movie. Yeah,
oh damn!
Almost.
Yeah. Oh damn! All right, so I think that means we gotta cut it. We're done here. All right, so everybody, you want to see a movie, nice little family movie. It's based around business as well, whether you into it or not, into business or not. Definitely check out Lionheart, and they got jokes in the movie as well. So yeah.
Yep.
Alright, so that's a wrap on this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed our discussion and thoughts around this movie and hopefully provided you with some value as you navigate through your business journey in life. As always, if you have a question you would like us to answer on the show, shoot us a message on any of our social media channels. Also, don't forget to subscribe and share on Spotify and iTunes. See you again soon. In the meantime, keep grinding.
The Business Grind is for entertainment purposes. Opinions expressed are those solely of the host and guests. Please consult with a professional and exercise discretion before engaging in any business endeavors.
I'm out here on the grind. I'm out here on the grind.